On this week's episode, find out the one key thing that you might be missing in order to make movement an amazing treatment principle for you on your fertility journey. I have a wonderful interview for you with Kim Perry. She is a pre and postnatal fitness instructor, a mom, and the face of the Kim Perry Co. over on Instagram. I'll link that down below for you. And we talked all about how to incorporate movement into your routine when it comes to trying to conceive, but also postpartum. So, for all of you who have been successful on your fertility journey and you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success when it comes to baby number 2 or baby number 3 or wherever you are, what does that look like for you? What is your body telling you? How do we incorporate the right kind of movements in order to help balance your hormones? And what are all the other little nitty-gritty pieces that you need to think about? Before we get into this week's interview, just a quick thank you to our amazing podcast sponsor, Needed. They have my favorite powdered prenatal for my friends who struggle to take pills or feel like they're just taking too many pills right now and they're trying to cut back. Their powdered prenatal is top notch. It's well researched. It has amazing ingredients, great quality, high, beautiful doses, and so easy to take in the powdered form. Definitely go check it out over at thisisneeded.com and use the code Dr. Kelsey for 20% off your first order. So thank you, Needed. Enjoy our episode with Kim, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hello, Kim. Welcome to the Fertility Confidence Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Why don't we start with you just telling our listeners a little bit about you?
Oh, okay. I'm Kim. I'm a prenatal postnatal fitness specialist, and I have 4 little babies. Well, this is one little baby, and then I have 3 girls that are 8, 6, and 4. So I love helping moms try and figure out how to modify their workouts so that they can continue exercising during pregnancy, and then helping them, figure out where to start postpartum, because our body has gone through so many changes. And I like to stress that it's not when you start exercising, whether you're trying to conceive, whether you're pregnant or postpartum, it's not about when, it's about what exercises you're starting with. And I think that's a big missing piece of the puzzle that a lot of us women on our pregnancy or motherhood journeys struggle with. It's like, what are we supposed to be doing? So that's why I'm excited to be here today and talk about exercise a little bit.
Yeah. And I have lots of questions, but now I'm curious, like, let's start there with what should we be starting with? What are we doing wrong? Tell us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it really depends on your fitness level. So what you start with, Kelsey, what you start with might look different than what exercises I'm starting with, or what my neighbor, who maybe she didn't work out her entire pregnancy and now she's postpartum and like, okay, I'm ready. I got my sneakers. Like, let's do a HIIT workout. It's like, whoa, we got to slow down and we got to assess where you're at. So generally, speaking about postpartum specifically, you're going to want to start with core engagement, really bringing back body awareness, which might feel completely different than, 6, 8, 10 weeks ago when you were pregnant, right? And same thing with pregnancy. If you weren't exercising at all prior and now you're pregnant and you want to be healthy and you want to work out, have a good pregnancy, get your body ready for labor, that's great. But let's start like with 2-3 workouts a week, and we can build from there. Also starting with, smaller weights to make sure we're working on our form and correct engagement, building from there. But if you're used to exercising, you can kind of continue that as long as you've got your doctor's green light check of approval. You can do essentially what you were doing before, as long as you're making modifications for your growing body.
Right. And I feel like I love that you said you can start with 2 to 3 times a week, because I feel like a lot of us have this mindset of like all or nothing, right? And we all grew up kind of in the same time frame. I used to work in a gym, so like my initial mentality of what exercise looked like when I was 19 and in the gym culture was, if I can't go for at least an hour, sometimes twice a day, then like what, I'm not actually doing anything, right? Whereas now when I work with clients, especially who are new to movement and are also, going through their fertility journey, it's
Mm-hmm.
about kind of breaking these old habits and these old beliefs of what does working out actually look like.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's huge. And I think I've learned about it doing another certification in pregnancy and postpartum athleticism, and it talks a lot about the athlete mindset. So what you're talking about, like just working out, like we have this mindset of what you think it's supposed to look like or what it has looked like for you, but on a
Mhm.
whole nother level, if you grew up as an athlete, or if you're very competitive, maybe you like were really into 5Ks, PRs, CrossFit, like we have this mindset of pushing through things, and we have to reframe that all when you're pregnant, because it's very different just for a little while.
Mhm.
It can be really hard and scary to think like, but wait, this is only a 30-minute workout, this is not doing anything, right? But
Right.
it that's not it. We gotta break down those old rules and rebuild. But yeah, it's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a big challenge for me. I feel like
Mhm.
all through my 20s, and when I went to med school, life changed. I was busy. I, you know, lived near school for the first year, but for the rest of my time I commuted over an hour and in, Toronto traffic, so it was usually 3 hours. So I was in my car for like anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day. And it became a big time period of my life where I was like, I just don't have the time for this. I don't have the
Yeah.
mental capacity to fight through it. I don't have the time. And then when we decided to start our family, and I knew that that was something that I was going to have to revisit, it became a priority. And it was a lot of rebuilding my belief system around, like, even if it's just 20 minutes, even if it's just, walking farther from my car to the door and parking farther away, the more I can just actually move my body and focus less on like I'm doing this hard exercising, I'm still getting benefit from that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's one message I like to preach. You mentioned before, like all or nothing
Hmm.
is like a thing of the past. We are consistent, right? Like that is what I'm about. I like to set the bar real low when it comes to fitness and health. Like, and for a couple reasons. Number one, when you set the bar low, your mind is already thinking like, oh, well, I can do that. Two workouts a week. Like I
Yeah.
can do that. And then you do it, you get your two workouts in, you get a hit of dopamine that you're like, yes, I succeeded, look, I did that, and it makes you want to do more. And then also, like, when you mess up, or if you have the bar set too high and you mess up, it's so discouraging. You just want to throw in the towel. I actually just reposted a reel today, and this girl was kind of making fun of like that all or nothing mindset. And she's like trying to put on lipstick or lip liner and messes up. So she just draws a whole
Oh my
streak
God, I've
across
seen
her
that.
face. Have
Yeah.
you seen that? And then she
Yeah,
just
yeah,
spills a
yeah.
little bit of water on her shirt. So she dumps the whole
Splash.
glass down her pajamas. Like, and it's like, that's the thing. Like, that's how unhinged an all or nothing mindset is. It's like, you're crazy if you're going to throw in the towel because of one inconvenience. Like, you just have to keep going. So I would
Right.
say, like, consistency over cuteness. Like, it might not look cute today, but we're going to show up because that little bit matters. That 20-minute workout will make a difference.
Yeah. And I think if we kind of bring this into a full picture of the fertility journey, this is something we talk about all the time, is that
Mhm.
consistency is key, to have good, healthy metabolism, hormones,
Mm.
all the things, egg quality, sperm quality. It's not necessarily about you having one really good day at hitting all of your habit goals, but it's about you being consistent and not necessarily being perfect. And so I think the more we can stay consistent in little areas, the easier it is for us to be consistent in the others. So if our goal is 2 to 3 workouts and we're hitting that and we're like, yes, I did it, look at me go, we're also then going to be more inclined to want to hit our nutrition goals and our
Mhm.
sleep goals and our mindset goals, because we are proving to ourselves that we can actually do it, instead of that narrative of, oh, I screwed up, so this cycle's gone, we'll just whatever, we'll start over another time.
Mhm. Yeah, it makes so much sense. And I say that too. Like, I started drinking in 2025. I've been drinking lemon water with salt, like Celtic sea salt. Do you drink that?
So my 2025
Okay.
like lemon water version is like a hot lemon water with a scoop of lemon magnesium in it.
Ooh, do you drink that at night or in the
I
morning?
drink it at night. It like helps me get
It's
in the zone for sleep so far. I'm really
zen.
enjoying it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So for me, I like to drink the lemon water with the salt in the morning. And I don't know what it is that I feel so healthy when I drink this. I feel like a different person. And it gets me like so excited for the day of like all the healthy things I'm gonna do. I'm like, I'm gonna do my workout and oh, you know what? We're gonna go for a walk. And then I'm gonna make eggs. I was just gonna have some toast, but you know what? I'm gonna make some eggs. I don't know. It's something about the lemon salt water.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the thing is like,
Starting your day off right just sets the tone for the entire
yes.
rest of the day, right?
Yeah, and it makes you like you're saying, like you want to eat healthier and like when you get your workout and you want to, stay on track with your nutrition. And for me, like when I drink my lemon water, I'm like, I want to be this healthy person.
It unleashes your superpower every single morning.
Mhm.
For
Magic.
women who are listening, what so how I like to kind of teach topics sometimes is like, yes, you're listening or you're hanging out with me or you've joined my program because you want to get pregnant, but
Mhm.
where else are we getting benefit? Why else should women be thinking about moving their bodies and exercising?
Oh, well, I feel like everyone should be exercising. So there's so many benefits. So you mentioned hormone regulation, which is huge. I feel like exercise and sleep are like the biggest things you can do for your health. Exercise and
Hmm.
sleep. Eating
I
is great too. Like there's a lot we can do there. But moving your body and resting your body and mind, amazing. So we've got stress reduction. It's going to help relieve stress during your workouts. That good hormone production we're getting, improve circulation for all of our systems, right? Like our digestive system, helping our bodies digest the yummy food that we're eating. Obviously, weight management is great. Um, for me, I just love the way it makes me feel. Like I love the mood boost I get from it. Even when on the days when I don't want to work out, that's
Mhm.
sometimes I have to like pull the consistency card of like I'm just doing this because I'm supposed to, whatever. But I get so much more done on the days when I get a workout in the morning. It boosts my productivity
Yeah.
and my mood. The list goes on. I mean, there's obviously so many benefits. For women specifically, I think the hormone balance is the biggest thing.
Yeah. For someone who's maybe struggling to be consistent, what could you offer them as some support tools?
I think setting the bar low and agreeing to
Mhm.
do 2 days a week. If you can agree to two workouts a week, that is huge. And sticking with it. It might be a matter of scheduling it in, finding a day and time where you have to block out, whether it's the baby's nap time or, before work, you're going to wake up early 2 days a week, or maybe you're meeting a friend for a yoga class,
Mhm.
something to get you excited about it and know that it's happening, like this is happening. And a lot of times for me, like when I schedule something outside of my house because I work out at home, I I don't I don't think I'm a homebody, but I guess I am because when I think about like, oh, I have to go to that Pilates class tonight. I agreed to it last week and now I don't want to anymore. I I have to force myself to go, and every time I do, it feels so good. I feel so good after, and I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I went to that. Like, why didn't I want to? Like, I would have
Mhm.
just stayed home and watched Netflix. Like, why would I not do that fun thing? So, setting the bar low, committing to it, finding a time in your schedule. If you can find a friend to go with you or to do this for accountability, so you have someone like checking in on you. And then for me, like
Mhm.
short workouts gets like two thumbs up because number one, it's going to be easy for me to motivate myself. If I'm like, oh, today's workout's 17 minutes, I can do that. Like,
Yeah.
that's done. And then if I feel good and I want to do another round or stack another workout or maybe go for a walk after, bonus, like that's great. But keeping it short, it's going to make it easy for you to put on the sports bra and strap on the sneakers. If you're telling me I have a 90-minute workout, like, already, it's not
Yeah.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I find like shorter is better, but in the days where I'm like this week, for example, I have not been doing a good job. I've been super tired, not sleeping well, end of cycle, like just
Mhm.
struggling to get back. And I also work out at home. And so those are the two things that I kind of do to help trick myself essentially is one, I'll know my workout takes me about 30 to 40 minutes. I am going to just go in, I'm going to do one round, I'm going to do 15 minutes. And at the end of that 15 minutes, I will decide,
Mhm.
do I want to finish or am I happy with that today? And 9 times out of 10, I'm finishing the workout because by that point, I'm like actually into it and energized and good to
Mhm.
go. And then the second thing that I've been doing is funny that you mentioned this is I have been like, you know what? I need to get out of the house a little bit. So I found a
Mhm.
Pilates studio. My husband and I do like classical Pilates together on Wednesday mornings. We really love it. So I found this other Pilates studio. It's different. It's not the same, but it's still awesome. And I signed up for some classes, and so I have to go. I'm
Yeah.
scheduled for tomorrow morning. And I was like, yesterday, I'm like, oh my God, I should just cancel that class because I have not been able to get my butt in the gym all week. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, I just need some time, but I'm leaving it in there. And I'm past the point now where I can't cancel it at this point. I'm gonna have to get up tomorrow and go to Pilates. And I know I'm gonna feel great after. I'm gonna be
Mhm.
grumpy about it, but it's interrupting my pattern of feeling unmotivated, right? Of like, I don't really feel like I have the energy to do what's on my schedule for my training plan, but I know I have the energy to do that. And I
Mhm.
am interrupting my pattern by choosing something different and getting out of my house, which is different for me, and scheduling it, which is different for me in a way that I'm being held accountable.
Yeah, accountability is huge.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it's easy for us to, like, let ourselves down. We're just like, "Eh, whatever, I'll get over it." But the
Right.
thought of letting somebody else down now, that is another layer of guilt that
Mm-hmm.
we would have to carry, and we hate
Mm-hmm.
letting other people down.
Yeah, so true. So, a lot of our clients who are successful in their journey, which is great, then come back around. And a lot of them often it had taken a few years to get pregnant and get to their baby. And so they're usually of the mindset of, I'm going to start trying for a second or third or wherever they're at in their journey
Mhm.
fairly quickly. For those women who are kind of in that early postpartum period, what recommendations will you have for them in terms of using movement to help with secondary infertility?
So, how far along postpartum are we talking?
I mean, it depends. I have usually people come back like within the first couple of months and they're like, I want to gear up to try again. And I'm usually like, okay, let's talk about like what realistically we're working with here. Like, where are you at? How are you feeling mentally? But I would say somewhere in the like 6 to 8 month range postpartum is when a lot of my clients start thinking about trying again.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a good time to start setting goals. I know for me, um, it takes so long to get into a routine postpartum. You have those
Mhm.
first 3 months where you just had a baby and you are recovering, healing, and learning mom, like newborn. And
Right.
then the next 3 months from, like, months 3 to 6, you're still kind of fumbling around. You're tired, not getting a ton of sleep. But it's like that 6 to 8, even like 9 month where you're like, okay, we've got a thing going. It's not always great, but now it's like I feel like I could commit to something or I want to get started. I want to dabble. Like
Mhm.
let's try out this postpartum workout thing. And I think it's great to have a baseline of like, okay, I want to go for stroller walks a couple days a week and maybe start doing some strength training or, what workout of choice, right? If you do like a Pilates style or yoga or a group class. And it's I do think it's a good time to start, and it's just a matter of figuring out a balance because it's also depending if you're breastfeeding, right? Or
Mhm.
maybe you haven't gotten your cycle back. It's such a unique experience for each mom
Mhm.
of just trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to fit in a workout, keep my milk supply up, and get my hormones in check. I feel like there's a lot, it's a big puzzle to solve, but just starting with the foundations of like, resting when you can. Obviously, I know babies wake up during the night, so that that's a tricky one.
Mm-hmm.
But getting enough sleep and rest, getting some movement in a few days a week, if you can. I mean, a lot of us moms are on our feet a lot, whether you're rocking a baby or you're doing housework in your free time, like we are moving. But focusing on that strength training, some sort of movement a couple days a week, and then the nutrition. I mean, it feels like so much, and I'm
I
just
know.
picturing a mom right now who's like, there is no freaking way. Like I am in the thick of it. Like I cannot. So just you want to find something that is going to work for you and that doesn't feel overwhelming. That's why, again, I stress setting a really low bar for
Yeah.
yourself.
And that goes for everybody, like not even if you're just postpartum, but
Mhm.
everybody. If it feels overwhelming to start a movement routine, it's probably because you're, shooting for athletic style,
Mhm.
an athletic plan. And
Yeah.
we don't have to be athletes to be healthy. And I think that's a really big distinction, especially with a lot of the narrative on social media around what healthy movement looks like can be
Mhm.
very extreme, and we need more narrative around like walking actually is a form of exercise, and doing, if it's just doing some breathing and stretching, like that's movement, and being on your feet all day doing housework and chores, like that's still movement, and being able to kind of change that narrative again in our brains of what is
Mhm.
actually acceptable and then what actually is like fully sedentary.
Yeah. Yep. And then breastfeeding is like a whole nother thing. So you're talking trying to conceive postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that is
Mm-hmm.
close to 6 to 8 months. So what is part of your list when a mom comes to you and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go again? Like, do you have a checklist of like, this is where you need to be before you even start?
Yeah, the big thing for me is that they have their cycle back, obviously. And so that's always the first conversation of like, are you even
Mhm.
ovulating yet?
Right.
If you're breastfeeding, you might be, you might not be. So we have a conversation around that in
Hmm.
terms of what does your breastfeeding journey look like and feel like for you? Are we going to have a hard date where you feel like you need to be able to be prepared to start trying again? Or are we just going to go with the flow? So it really depends on the client in that way. But that's really the big thing for me. And then my usual tips at that point between the 6-8 month mark is like, let's give your body a little bit more time and use these next few months to make sure that you are nourishing yourself with food, that you are getting enough sleep. And if you aren't, how can we steal some pockets of rest and sleep through the day? And how are you moving? So we kind of take people back to the basics. And because I have a very similar conversation with my clients at that point of like, you're in the thick of it still, like I've had this conversation a few times just this week around how postpartum isn't just, the first 6 weeks or even the first 6 months, but I really do look at the postpartum journey actually being the first 3 years of
Hmm.
your child's life. And oftentimes for women, we're not getting back to baseline before we're pregnant again. We're usually trying to get pregnant in that 2 to 3 year mark. And so then we're stacking another hormonal journey through pregnancy and birth, and then sleep deprivation and newborn life on top of that. So everyone's body is a little bit different, but I would say that having, first and foremost, are you ovulating? And if not, is it because you're breastfeeding, or is it because there's more going on and your body's just not healed yet? And how does that sort of work? But I won't even run labs for people until they're like 3 months post breastfeeding or pumping,
Okay.
because it's usually not going to tell us much of anything at all at that point.
I put up a poll recently to see when people get their cycle back after having a baby, just to see like what's normal.
Yeah,
And guess what? I came to the conclusion.
that
No,
it's
no,
so
nothing
random.
is normal. Nothing is normal. It was like across the board, just
Yeah.
like I had four answers, like 0 to 3 months. I got it back. 4 to 7 or 8, and then 8 to 12, and then 12 plus. It equal, completely equal.
Yeah,
Everyone
that
was
doesn't
all over
surprise
the
me.
place, all over, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "There's got to be like one that's nope."
No.
So, and I
And
actually did an email about this last week. I was like, expect the unexpected. Because, like, you can't ask your postpartum friends, like, oh, when did you get your cycle back? Because theirs is going to be so different from what you're going to experience. It's crazy.
yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're exclusively nursing, exclusively pumping, combo feeding, formula feeding, it quite literally doesn't seem to matter. Like the body's just going to do its own thing at its
That.
own time. And
Mhm.
we literally are just strapped in for the ride at that point. Like we cannot control it.
It's so wild.
It is so wild. And I think it freaks people out in the fertility space. You know, I have
Mhm.
a lot of clients that'll come back a couple months later and be like, I haven't got my period yet. What's going on? And whether or not they're using breast milk or using formula, I always kind of have to explain to them, like, listen, we don't know. Like, there just seems to be this very insane thing that our body does what it wants to do. And some women can get a very regular cycle right away, exclusively breastfeeding. And some women won't get their cycle back until they stop breastfeeding, even a few months after. And then every variation in between. So it definitely, when I'm talking to women who have, been successful in the journey and are now wanting to try again, that usually is a roadblock for them. If they're like, well, I want to try, but my period's not back yet. And I'm like, okay, well then we've got, now we have a whole other conversation that we have to have and figure out, is it because of how you're feeding? And then how do you feel about that? Like, where do you want to go with that conversation? Or is there something else going on in your body now that was different than before that we need to start kind of unpacking and layering? But the baselines, the foundations are the same regardless. And movement is a really big pillar in that.
Okay.
What are what are some, like, I want to go back to the beginning where you're like, it sort of depends on what your level of fitness is to start with, is kind of where you want to start. If someone has like dabbled on and off with exercising, so let's say they have a gym membership, they go and do group classes and they're really consistent for a while, and then they take a few months off, and then they go back and they take a few months off, and they really want to get into a consistent habit. So they're like our, maybe let's say, medium exerciser.
Medium.
Where like they've dabbled, but they're like not committed, right?
Yeah.
What would be advice for them to kind of, other than like, let's set the bar low,
Mhm.
where should someone really be trying to focus their energy in terms of getting consistent? Is it,
And this is someone
more?
trying to conceive.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So like, would you want them more consistent with like getting out for walks and doing like cardio? Would you want them more consistent with strength training? Would it not matter? Like, how would you recommend that?
For me personally, I think everyone can benefit from strength training, specifically muscle
Mm.
growth, just keeping our body strong and also balanced, because that's something when you do get pregnant, it throws off your center of gravity. And doing simple things like walking or anything where you're shifting your weight from one side to the other, you really need that muscle strength and those
Mm.
smaller muscles in our pelvic floor and our core. So I call me biased, but strength training I think is the most important. It's also going to help you with labor. It helps muscles. Having muscles helps your body recover quicker postpartum, and just being strong and balanced as our body goes through all of those shifts, changes. And then when the baby comes, our posture is thrown off because we're holding a baby all the time. So the best thing that I've done for myself is strengthening my muscles all around. Like, not just like, I feel like you hear strength training, you picture like squats, deadlifts, and bicep
Right.
curls, but it's so much more than that.
How could someone get started strength training at home?
Oh, okay. So I offer at home workout programs, and I keep the equipment super simple. I always say like a great, like one set of dumbbells is all you need to get started. I like to call it a happy weight. Find a
Mhm.
weight that feels slightly challenging, but it feels good. Like, and you can practice some bicep curls and be like, okay, I can do maybe 10, starting to feel heavy. That's like a good place to start. And you can always build your home gym equipment off of that. So ideally, if you could have that happy weight and then a heavier option, and maybe for those days when you're really fighting to get a workout in, you can have a lighter set. Um, but yeah, just keeping it simple with some dumbbells. And I mean, if my program is not a good fit, there are so many out there to get started at home, or in a gym. Like, you can bring some of these workouts to a gym, but having a plan, having a schedule, that accountability where you're like checking off boxes, like, okay, what's the workout for today? Open it up. Today's Tuesday. Okay, got it. Here's my workout. Oh, it's 20 minutes. Press play. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's worked best for me. And I know it has helped a lot of other women stay on track and stay accountable. And also so I like to offer a lot of modifications because depending on your flexibility, the balance that
Mhm.
you're at, like sometimes doing a lunge feels really hard because you're wobbling a little bit if you're adding weights to that. So having modifications for your workouts, for exercises, that's going to be really helpful too. um yeah, just figuring out, I think, body awareness, which we had talked about a little bit at the beginning, just being aware of like, okay, this feels really hard, or yeah, I can't do that. And just using modifications when you need to is also really important. So if you are newer, and you're noticing like something is really difficult, using a modification.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, if you're like, okay, I'm doing a lunge, this is not hard for me. All right, let's increase the intensity. Like, add some more dumbbell or heavier set of dumbbells, or maybe
Yeah.
we could move through the with great form a little bit quicker to get more reps in. Or maybe you're doing another set on top of what you've already done.
Yeah. And having like a little mini setup at home is going to just help you be that much more accountable to sticking to the plan, right? Because you're taking away that one more barrier of having to
Mm.
leave the house and go to the gym and park the car and get in and fit it into the schedule. Whereas it's super simple,
Mhm.
or it can be super simple to fit a 17, 20, 30-minute workout when you're just pulling, a couple weights out from under the bed
Yeah.
and you can just do it right, sitting right there, right?
In your pajamas, like, you literally don't even have to get dressed. I mean, I like to wear sports bra, even if I'm wearing like pajama shorts. But yeah, it makes it so much less intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This was amazing, Kim. Where could people find more information about you and your programs that you offer?
My website is kimperry.com, and I'm on Instagram at kimperryco. I do have a program for future moms who are trying to conceive, and
Hmm.
it's all at home workouts. And we do a lot of mindset work in there as well, which I am not a fertility expert. So I brought on some of my fertility friends, and I
Amazing.
learned so much of how, between mindset, hormones, like the sleep, movement, like it all plays such, like, it's like this trifecta of, we need all these little magic
Mm-hmm.
pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I love that. I'll make sure we link all of that in the show notes for our listeners to come and check you out.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
as we wrap up here, what's just one last piece of advice you'd love to leave for women who are trying to conceive?
Advice. Well, first, I just want to say my heart is giving you the biggest hug because I have seen some of my friends struggle, and I just feel like there's nothing anyone can say or do. And I wish I could just give you a hug right now. And I just want you to know that there are women out here that want to support you and hold your hand and be with you in this season of your life. And you are not alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much, Kim. Let's talk again soon.
Okay, thank you.